Greetings, Brian, Christians, non-Christians, YouTube viewers. While this is not a rebuttal of Brian's comment on my response video to "A Christian Challenges Every Atheist on the Planet," I will briefly defend my points. And the facts are that Nebuchadnezzar did not conquer Tyre. They simply accepted Babylonian rule after the 13-year siege. They retained their own ruler and they paid tribute to Babylon. It was not entirely destroyed. It was not never rebuilt again. It existed in the time of Alexander the Great, during Jesus' time, and it exists today. And not pertaining to that particular chapter in prophecy, but there was never a time in history where Egypt was uninhabited by both man and beast for a period of 40 years. If these statements are true, then your prophecies are not. So, moving right along. Supporting my rebuttal claims that at least the biblical God does not exist, that God is not good, and I'm better than him, let's look at another supposed attribute of that God, that being love. According to 1 John 4:8, God is love. Paul was kind enough to give us a working biblical definition of love in 1 Corinthians 13, so let's go through that section and compare the God of the Bible to the Bible's definition of love. We see that love is patient and love is kind. God's first statement to the first man on earth was a death threat, and a few chapters later, he killed every living thing on the planet. He killed Onan for pulling out and spilling his seed on the floor. He caused Pharaoh to disobey him so that he could punish the Egyptians. He instructs us on how we may beat and how severely to beat our slaves. He sends fire from heaven to incinerate two men for using the wrong fire. He influenced David to conduct a census, which in turn upset God, and in turn killed 70,000 people. None of them were David. He considers those blessed who smash their enemies' babies against the stones. He strikes a couple dead for telling a lie. None of these events portray a being of patience nor kindness. Next, love is not jealous. God proudly declares that he is jealous, and even includes this fact in the ultimate moral code given to his people in the Ten Commandments. Love does not brag, love is not arrogant. God spends 4 entire chapters belittling a mortal man, basically on the grounds that he is not a god. God created all, knows all, can do all, so who are you to question me? Even if these statements are true, is it not arrogant to subject a man to such ordeals because you want to win a bet with the devil? Love does not behave unbecomingly, otherwise translated as acting unseemly or behaving rudely. In one instance, the people wanted to eat meat and were complaining, so God, understandably, from a human standpoint, was irritated. So he told them they would eat so much meat that it would come out of their friggin' nostrils. Worse than rude, a woman is forced to marry her rapist. Worse than rude, a woman is forced to marry her rapist. The rapist has to pay the father a fine and can never divorce his new wife. Note that absolutely no consideration of the woman is offered in these laws. Jehoram wasn't a great guy, according to God, so as punishment, God was going to strike the people, his sons, his wives, his property with great affliction and plague, and finally, punishing the actual sinner, Jehoram, he sends him a disease which will cause his intestines to fall out. And finally, if the priest didn't straighten up, God is going to have crap smeared on their faces. How rude. Love does not seek its own. However, God demands your firstborn, the first of all your crops. You must fear and serve God, and don't forget fear, because fear is the beginning of wisdom. And oh yeah, worship God always, because a perfect being always needs to be told how great and awesome he is. It's not self-seeking at all. Love is not provoked. Now, all of these verses, actually on the site that I found these, there's a list of 44 verses given. And what I think is really funny is that is from a Christian website, and I'll post this the link at the bottom. I really had to be selective here. There are so many instances, it would be a separate video just to try to list them all. I didn't even mention the flood in this, but anyway, Moses mentions when the people had provoked God before, that they were going to do it again. God was provoked to anger by a man trying to stop the Ark of the Covenant from falling, and so killed him. God is bringing evil and calamity on everyone again because Ahab provoked him to anger, and once God's wrath gets going, it can't be stopped, unless you cut off the foreskin or something. But we can't leave out the grandest consequence of divine provocation ever, which will last forever: hell, weeping and gnashing of teeth. Next, love doesn't rejoice in unrighteousness, but he created it, and sure does bring a lot of it. And lastly, love never fails. Well,